And now I have the pleasure of introducing former senior Indian diplomat Prabhu Dayal on the show. Welcome, sir, to the program. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Cyprus will be the first by an Indian Prime Minister in over 20 years. Tell us the special significance and also the context of this visit.
Well, Tanvi, first of all, thanks for having me on your show. Prime Minister Modi's visit to Cyprus is important for many reasons. However, I would like to list out four of the most important reasons. Firstly, the visit is a strategically significant move. This visit comes amid heightened tensions between India and Turkey, following Turkey's overt and covert solidarity and support for Pakistan during Operation Sindhu. So it is a calculated effort by Prime Minister Modi to advance India's Mediterranean strategy by countering the Turkish-Pakistani alignment. Now, Cyprus is engaged in a territorial dispute with Turkey, as Turkey had annexed northern Cyprus in 1974 and wants it to be accepted as a separate and independent country. So there is a territorial and political dispute between Cyprus and Turkey, and naturally Cyprus will align with India as it seeks to strengthen ties with nations opposing Turkish influence. Secondly, the visit is intended to strengthen bilateral ties. Prime Minister Modi is the first Indian Prime Minister to visit Cyprus in 23 years. And in a statement which he issued ahead of his departure from New Delhi, our Prime Minister described Cyprus as a close friend and an important partner in the Mediterranean region, as also in the European Union. So he said that the visit would provide an opportunity to build upon the historical bonds and expand our ties in the areas of trade, investment, security, technology, and in the context of people-to-people exchanges. Cyprus's maritime connectivity and strategic location also position it as a potential hub in the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor, about which we are very keen. Now, thirdly, Cyprus is important in terms of our efforts to extend our global outreach. Cyprus consistently supports India's positions on Kashmir, cross-border terrorism, and the UN Security Council reforms, and it reinforces India's diplomatic stance in international fora. So with Cyprus set to hold the rotating presidency of the European Union Council next year, Prime Minister Modi's visit, which is the first by an Indian Prime Minister in 23 years, paves the way for deeper India-EU collaboration during Cyprus's leadership term. So Cyprus is a key player also in the Eastern Mediterranean natural gas exploration, which is an area which is fraught with regional tensions due to Turkey's drilling activities. And as India seeks to diversify its energy resources, potential partnerships in this sector are under discussion with prime ministers, with it aiming to sort of explore new dimensions. Then, of course, a very important fourth point would be one which makes the visit very important is the economic partnership. Cyprus is a significant source of foreign investment in India, and it maintains a double taxation avoidance agreement with India. So discussions with Cypriot business leaders, which are taking place and which you showed on your television screen, are focusing on enhancing commercial links. So both nations are aiming to expand defense cooperation, particularly, as Cyprus faces security challenges from Turkey. So Prime Minister Modi's attempt is to diversify the relationship and maximize it in all different contexts.
Okay, and what aspects of the relations between the European Union and India are likely to come up during the talks between India and Cyprus?
There could be many issues that would come up. For instance, India's attempts to reach free trade agreements with, of course, the UK and also with the European Union, and how this could be expedited. And then, of course, there is this other issue relating to visas and travel. India is now appearing as a source, a very important source for students going out. There are restrictions which the United States is placing, as also Canada. So India is looking at more European institutions for enabling Indian students who want to have access to foreign universities. These European universities could be important. So the cooperation in the educational area. Then, of course, India is a very important source of supplying skilled manpower. And Europe has a requirement in that context. So these are just some aspects. Of course, the broadening of people-to-people contacts and cultural contacts would also be very important.
Okay, we know there is escalating crisis in West Asia. So the situation in West Asia, will it also come up for discussion during talks? And what will likely be the key focus points here?
Well, certainly the tensions in West Asia are extremely important. One cannot really figure out how long this war which is taking place between Israel and Iran will last. But every day that it gets extended increases the possibility of the widening of the conflict and also its escalation. Now, India has counseled both sides not to escalate. And we have also said that they should resort to diplomacy and dialogue. And the European Union could also help us in this context. And I'm sure that the discussions with the presidents of Cyprus will certainly focus on this area, how to make sure that the conflict doesn't escalate or widen, or in fact, how it can be brought to an end as quickly as possible.
Okay, India has consistently endorsed the solution of the Cyprus issue based on the UNSC resolutions. Tell us something more about India's expression of solidarity with Cyprus on this key issue.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, Turkey had occupied northern Cyprus in 1974, and it has been treating northern Cyprus as a separate country. But of course, Cyprus has always disputed this annexation by Turkey of the northern part of the island. And India certainly supports all UN resolutions and all UN efforts in this regard. This is a flashpoint in the Mediterranean because Turkish disputes with Cyprus have this possibility of drawing in other countries also, Greece in particular. So there is heightened tension because of this issue. So India doesn't want the dispute to escalate. In fact, it wants the issue to be settled. And of course, by and large, the European community wants Turkish forces to withdraw from northern Cyprus. Of course, Turkey is most unwilling to do so.
Okay. And finally, sir, a word on Cyprus's fervent support for India's candidature for a permanent seat at the UN Security Council?
Yes, Cyprus has been very forthcoming in conveying support to us in regard to all matters which pertain to the United Nations, including, of course, this very important issue relating to UN reform, the UN Security Council reforms. We have been championing the issue of the expansion of the permanent membership, because there are countries like, of course, India and then Germany, Japan, Brazil, which have been working together for ensuring that an expansion takes place, and we are able to join because, frankly speaking, the world of today is very different from the world of 1945, when the UN Security Council was set up, and there were only 5 permanent members which were ascribed to it. Now the world is very different. India is already the 5th largest global economy and heading towards becoming the 4th largest. So our economy is expanding and our global outreach is also growing. So we are a major player in various political issues. We have a big role which we play in regard to UN peacekeeping. So why are we not there as a permanent member of the UN Security Council? Cyprus supports our case. Cyprus is a friend, and in all multilateral issues, it stands alongside us. So I think this is also a very important part of the bilateral and multilateral cooperation which will be focused on during the Prime Minister's visit.
Yes, tomorrow is the day for bilateral talks. We will get insights from you also, hopefully tomorrow. Thank you very much, Prabhu Dayal ji, for joining us on DD India News Hour.